all those little punks all knew me and everything, and every teenage kid, boy and girl alike, at some time or other worked in that damn theater, you know, as an usher, as a cashier or something.
Yeah.
So I raised a lot of kids.
Did Melvin ever work in the theater?
No. He refused to work for me. He says, "Dad, you expect too much of people."
Ah! Yeah.
I went to work for the theater as a maintenance man. They couldn't hire anybody to repair seats or repair some of the equipment they had there, so I went to work as a maintenance man. And I gradually took over the janitorial duties. So the first time I started on a Sunday, and man, the crap on the floor was that deep. So I called Mildred and I said, "Get Mel out of bed and have him come down here to help me clean this place up." So he come on down, and I handed him a broom, and I said, "Okay, start in." And he never would work for me. He said, "You expect too much from people." But he worked for me when we worked in Sacramento. I had to have a maintenance man, and he was living up in Spokane. And the company he'd been working with, he went up to Spokane because they'd been visiting up there. And at that time, Mel was working for the Fresno Bee or the Modesto Bee or one of them. And they went up to visit up there, and he went into this print shop. And the guy offered him a job. He said, "If you come up here and go to work for me," he said, "I'll guarantee you that at the end of 5 years you'll own this business. I'll sell it to you or give it to you and let you pay for it out of the profits." And instead of doing that, why, Mel called, or I called him or something on the phone, or Millie did, and he said that he hadn't been able to cash his last 2 checks because there was no money in the bank for cash his checks. And the guy was one of those creeps who was telling people that you don't have to pay income tax, it's illegal, and he wound up in the penitentiary. So Mel lost all the money he had coming and everything else, and so I had to have a maintenance man in Sacramento. So I called Mel and I said, "If you want to come down here to work as a maintenance man, there's a job open. I can give you an apartment, and you have to pay your own utilities, but I'll give you an apartment rent free, and it'll be part of your salary, and I'll give you $100 a week cash money and salary." And so he came on down, and he worked there for 5 or 6 years. And then he got a chance to go to work for another company that was in the same business. They paid a lot more than the company I was with, that would let me pay.
Yeah, well, the story I heard, that I remember, of you overhearing Bing Crosby and Bob Hope, was that they were using so much foul language.
Foul language. I mean, most of those people, you wouldn't invite them in your house. Well, who would ever have thought that Bing Crosby, of all people, would use language like that, you know? We were at the Schreider's Auditorium, and hear those two, this was just part of their routine, I guess, when they put on acts that were not in movies, you know.
Televised or?
Yeah, or televised. They really use foul language. I mean, well, it's like it is now. Well, look at what these people, the way they talk on TV now.
Yeah,
true.
And that's what they did years ago. Wouldn't hold a bean to this stuff nowadays.
Yeah. Oh no, I understand. But then it was very.
Yeah, very, 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 very bad stuff.
Cool.
Well, we better shut her down and finish it up tomorrow.
Yeah, it looks
These
like
poor
Carol's
folks
going to
get
sleep.
bed.
Huh?
You guys about ready to go to bed? Yeah, Carol too.
I believe she's taking a nap.
Yeah.
Eileen said that she wants one of these.
One of what? Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah.
Get the broom and move.
Yeah,
that
I've already
light
checked
shade.
into sending the tapes
That
off
far
and having
light shade
transfer them
is
to
right in
DVD.
my eye.
Do you have a DVD player?
Needs to
No.
be
Yeah.
like that one over there.
Oh, you need to get a DVD
Wait.
player. You can watch beautiful
got that
movies
aimed
better than the
Yeah.
At your
video.
husband.
And you can get a good
You're
DVD
getting
player for
further,
99 bucks.
I can get one for free here
Hey.
if I want to sign up for cable.
Yeah.
Oh,
On this, speaking of Irene and DVD, tomorrow, when we start this thing, we want you to go through and answer that question that she asked you on the phone about her mom and dad,
Yeah.
and get that on the tape for her.
Well, she wanted to know about it. Well, there was no fiction about Henry and Fanny, but my older sister were never allowed to date anybody. Henry wanted to come over, he wanted to marry Fanny, and Mom and Dad sat on the couch in the front room, like on that wall, and Henry sat across the room on this wall, and he talked to my mother and dad in Italian, and Fanny was sitting, of course, she heard it, and she understood what he was saying, but I doubt that Fanny and Henry ever even touched hands before they got married.
yeah, I heard you talking about that. That was great.
So, and then you could send,
Leg hurting.
Got a cramp.
if you can send me could you put it on a tape like this? So you can
VCR
play-
tape?
A what?
He doesn't have a DVD player. You have to put it on a VCR tape.
Could you do that?
Oh, yeah, we could. If not, we'll send you a DVD player.
How am I can't get behind that TV to hook it up.
Sure you can. The TV's right there. I mean,
I know it's right there, but I can't.
Don't you have a son-in-law that can come over and hook that up for you?
No. Whose son-in-law would I have?
That lives across the street.
Oh, my stepson.
Yeah, a stepson. That's what I meant.
If I had, I guess I could go have maybe I will sign up for the cable and get.
I'll tell you, have Julie come over and
Who?
hook it up. Julie.
Julie.
She'd
Julie
do
bring
it.
her
I'll
husband
bet
over.
she'd do it.
She would
Yeah.
do it, or bring Ken with her and fix you all your faucets at the same time. Because he's a plumber.
Yeah, he is a plumber.
Yeah, she'd pretty up the place. That's for sure.
Okay.
No,
We better
we'll
let them get to bed.
we'll make sure that that's worked out. Either if you don't have a DVD player, then we'll work something.
Yeah.
We'll make sure you can watch it.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Because
say
I
that.
think I can record from DVD to videotape.
Yeah, I was
Well,
gonna
you
say
said
that
that,
after I
but
look at it, I
it's
see
not.
we'll
Honey,
send
I
one to
wanted you
Ruth.
to hear what he was saying.
You
Like-
seen what?
After I see it, we'll send one to
I
Ruth.
heard it before.
And
Sorry.
I don't know anybody else that I
Did,
want.
I wanted to go to.
Okay.
You deserve.
All of the people of my generation are all gone.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, that's a problem.
No.
No.
So,
How you doing, pretty one?
Well,
She
I'm
wants
doing.
that light changed up there.
Oh, we can turn that off now.
Yeah, you can turn it off.
Yeah, if I can get up.
That light over there is just
Mm-hmm.
glaring right in my face.
Oh, yeah.
That one?
Yeah.
Let's
Okay, is
see.
that better?
Oh, yeah.
Jack, stop that.
I'm gonna, tomorrow I'll flip that back the other way. I'll get my,
No.
okay.
okay.
Oh shoot, I was gonna ask that question before you started this. Alright, don't start that yet, please.
Bring me my pen, would you, honey?
Yep.
So anyway, Mom got sick and they took her to the hospital and she died.
Okay, this was after then she'd been at Helen's house. And
Oh, yes,
went to live with you. Oh,
The
okay.
last year of her
Oh,
life, she had been with
Okay,
us.
okay.
And well, next time I saw Michael, I said, "Isn't it marvelous how well Mom is?" And he never said anything because Mel had said, "Mother, we've been lately misinformed about her. She's fine," but she wasn't fine. And she missed the doctor's prediction by 7 days.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
You switch around. Yeah,
Okay,
look
I need to
this
get out
way.
of here.
No, it's not on you. You're not even in it.
we've just got home from dinner at where we were supposed to go out and get prime rib, and we got there and we found out they didn't cook prime rib during the week, only on Saturday nights, and we drove some 50 miles for nothing. But anyway, today we remembered about when Helen, in 1938, when Helen and Ruth came to Arkansas. Helen came home, when they came back to Stockton, Helen and Les were living in the pump house on Bishop Tract at that time, and Helen came down with serious fever and no obvious reason for it. And finally the San Joaquin County health authorities got involved through the doctor and whatnot, and he asked Helen if she'd done any traveling recently, and she said no. And Mildred spoke up and says, Helen just got back from Arkansas. And so the health authorities contacted Arkansas here, and they found where she had picked up the malaria mosquito someplace here in Crawford County, Arkansas. So anyway, with a lot of treatment and stuff, Helen got well, but then she had episodes of this several times after that. And so anyway, that is it as far as that was good. They were living in that pump house, which was at the end of the Bishop Tract, where they put all these ditches in to drain the water off, because the land level was below the river that ran around it. And the water would seep into the island, and it would flow down to the lowest point in the Bishop Tract. And Bishop Tract was a 25,000 acre piece of land, and this pump house was sitting right on top of it, and it was controlled by floats, and when the water got up so high, it would pump it back over the levee into the river. And I don't know if any of Les and Helen's kids ever saw that place or not, but Les and Helen lived in it for quite a while. And Les and Mike and Al was running the farms for California Dole Farms, and Les and Mike and I worked out there for them. Les and I were driving big diesel tractors, and Mike was driving a truck most of the time, and then we would alternate on the truck and on the tractors, and we pull plows and harrows and stuff like that. But I just wanted to put that on here because I remembered it today, and I was telling the boys about it, and we decided to do this. Then getting back, I was talking to Irene yesterday, and she asked me some questions about her dad and mother. So I told her, now I was only 10 or 12 years old at the time that they were courting, and the courting that was done in those days, in my type of family, my mother and dad sat on the couch and Fanny sat between them. And Henry sat in a chair by himself across the room. And he communicated with my parents in Italian, and they would tell Fanny what Henry had said. Of course, she had heard him, but that didn't make any difference. So that was the courting they did. I'm sure that they had never even touched hands until they got married. So anyway, I guess they had a good long life together and produced some kids. And then Floyd and Irene have grown up, but their little brother died at the age of 8 or 9 months. So, and then Fanny was alone for a long time after Henry passed away. And then she had that stroke and fell down and got a cut on her head. Because prior to that, she had joined the Golden Agers Club that in the church that Finn and I belonged to. Fanny never joined the church, she just joined the club. And we often had many great meals, and she was a large part of it. And she really enjoyed it. So Finn and I would go get her and take her to church. And then after the service, she attended our church service quite a lot. But, you know, she said, I was baptized a Catholic and I'll never leave it. So anyway, that was what she wanted, and that's the way it was. And we conducted a memorial service for her at our church after she passed away. And Jack and Bill were there. And they made some funny remarks after the service, before we went in for lunch, about me, primarily, and the fact that they were another one of my sisters who had preceded Fanny in death. You remember that?
Through Aunt Ange?
At Fanny's memorial service?
Mm.
You don't remember? You two got up there and got into hold of the microphone and shoved me out of the way.
That sounds Probably like something we would do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of you said, this old man, he's our uncle. But anyway, that's the way it was. And then I wanted to put that on this tape so that when Larry or whomever gets it recorded, why, you'll have it. Now, I want a copy of this if you can get it on a VHS. I don't have a DVD player. And I think maybe you'll enjoy listening to it. Some of the reminiscing we've done. The boys being here today or this week has brought back a lot of memories. I'm 92 now, and my lovely wife is 90. And we've been together about 20 years. And we love it here in Arkansas. And we hope that if and when you get time while we're still alive, that you'll take a chance or come in back here and come visit us for a few days. Even if you have trouble getting into the house, we can still find room for you. Thank you all and good night. God
Very
bless
nice.
you.
Very good, Uncle
Hey,
Frank.
That you have a great memory.
I wish I did.
He said he doesn't need short-term is
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, but
I'm
it's great.
losing, like I told you today, I'm losing
Hey,
my
we
temper.
all doing that.
Yeah,
That's
but-
just part of the age process.
Yeah, but I mean, you guys are old people. I'm just a kid
Oh, yeah, boy.
with my sweet and lovable. Like I told the girl down there today, you know, I always keep my sweet and lovable part of me showing. So,
Don't show the on reports, huh?
huh?
Don't show the on reports, huh?
That was good though.
So I just hope you guys have enjoyed your stay here and your visit
Oh
here.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
very much.
We
It's
accomplished
certainly
what
good
we
seeing
wanted
you
to.
again, Larry. Even though I've called you less half the time you've been here. Because we were just talking about your dads last night. And Peter and I, we used to go out to dinner a lot with Les and Grace and Frida and me.
Now, who is Grace? Who is Grace?
Her sister, the one that's up in,
Oh, okay.
she owned a house on the corner of,
I heard you say Grace yesterday, but I didn't know who you were talking about.
on the corner of El Dorado and, anyway, it had a huge backyard that was behind the fence. And Les went over and he proposed marriage to Grace. So he'd have a place to put his motorhome.
He proposed marriage to everybody.
So, because when I first introduced him to Frida, and we went out to dinner, we went over to that Lions or what, was that the name of the place?
Yeah.
We went and got prime rib dinner and we had Grace with us. But when they dropped Grace off, why, Pete and I went, because we'd gone over in your dad's car. We went, our car was parked out there in Fair Oaks or wherever you want to call it. And he kissed Frida goodnight and he said, does she have, to me, he said, does she have a sister? So, anyway, we've had a good time.
now, did you talk about Dad's last night on tape? I don't remember that it was on tape.
Well, we had been out to dinner. And we come home and he told us that he was packing the car for his trip to go. And we begged him not to. Well, the last night, we'd come home back after dinner. We were sitting and watching TV and he called on the phone. We used to talk almost every night. And he told us that he was packing the motorhome. And Peter said, Les, please, you just got out of the hospital. Wait a while. And he said, oh, I feel fine. And I talked to him and tried to convince him otherwise, and he wouldn't do it. So then he said he'd go take a shower and go to bed. And this was 8:30, 9 o'clock, somewhere like that in the evening. And the coroner said that he died about 11. That's what the coroner told me. And
He called me at 9.
Hmm?
I can tell you that.
He did
He
what?
called me at 9 o'clock. He called my house
Oh,
at 9
yeah,
o'clock.
well, it was after that we talked then. But the next morning, right out of the blue, Joyce called me and told me that Les had passed on. And I called PG&E, both their officers. I called your place and talked to your babysitter or housekeeper or whoever she was. And I told them what was going on. And then the next person on the phone was the girl from the restaurant, from Denny's restaurant. And she says, Frank, where's Les? And I said, I don't know why. Or I said, he passed away last night. And I said, why? Well, she said he came in yesterday and ordered me to pack this lunch for him, or 2 lunches or whatever for him. And I said, well, you just won't throw him away because he won't be in to pick him up. And that was it. But we talked to him just a few minutes before he went in for his shower.
Hmm.
But after B, was that her name? After B passed on, why, Les and Grace, or Les and Lee, the other sister, she's deceased also.
Yeah.
She was between Grace and Frida. The 4 of us, or the 5 of us, often we went to the King's Cafe there in Stockton. You know where it is? The King's. Is that the name of it in the shopping mall? It was a pitch till you win type thing. Well, the girls, the women like to go in there because they like the way they fix their chicken and stuff. When you went in off of Pacific Avenue to go into the mall, it was right there on your right. It was called King's, I think King's Cafe. Did you know that?
No, not Kings, I don't know anything about Kings.
Well, anyway, we went there a lot, and your dad liked to go to that Lions for that prime rib because he really loved prime rib.
Yeah, you guys also used to like the Smorgies, was it, what was the name of that Smorgie they used to like? That, no, not hometown, no, the one over there on.
But we tried our darndest to get him to lay off for a little while before making that trip down south. But he had loaded that damn camper up to the eyeballs with cases of goods. Now, what he planned to do with them, I have no way of knowing.
He was taking a lot of it to Morella.
He's gonna take it out in the desert?
No, he was taking it to Morella.
No, he said he was gonna take it out in the desert.
Yeah, cause he.
Put it all out and what they ate, fine, what they
Yeah.
didn't.
Oh, the
they give
food,
them.
no, I'm talking about all the extra stuff that was in the house. He was taking it to Morella.
Oh,
But we'd open one cabinet and it was just lined with tomato paste.
Towels and all
One
the
whole
extra
cabinet,
sheets and
just
stuff, he was
tomato
taking down
paste.
to Morella.
Tomato paste.
Yeah, in
In
one
the cabinet,
cabinet, cause
in
we
the
were
pantry, in the pantry.
taking everything out of there. And he was really loaded down.
Yeah. Well, he killed himself doing all those heavy lifting, you know.
Yeah. Shouldn't have done it.
Because it hadn't been too long before that they put a heart pacer in him. And getting back to B, you know, maybe it was partially my fault. When he Les told us that they were talking about maybe tying a knot, and I said, well, whatever you do, get a prenuptial agreement. And then you told me that they talked about it at your house,
well, Larry asked about it,
Yeah.
and B said, there's no way in hell I'm gonna sign any prenuptial agreement. That's what you told me.
Yeah.
And when they left that night or whatever, they went to,
Do I
where'd they go,
write
to
there?
Reno or Las Vegas someplace, and they got hitched.
Yeah, after we told them that we wanted to be there when they got married.
So he called the next day and talked to me and he told me, he says, honey, he says, I got something to tell you. And I said, what? He says, well, he says, you know B, he says, she's very persuasive, he says, we ended up getting married last night, and I said, what?
Wish my
And I started
hands
crying,
weren't
he says,
so
honey, he says, I'm so sorry.
stiff.
He says, I'm so sorry, he says, but you know how she is, won't take no for an answer. And I said, well, it is, Papa, I said, you promised us we could all be there. He says,
Well,
I'm so sorry.
They had come over to our place, you know, and they talked about possibility. And so I told him about when Peter and I got talking, you know. I'd only seen Peter maybe a dozen times when we got married. You know, she lived 200 miles away from me. But when once a month, she'd come to Stockton and stay there at Grace's. And during the day, she'd come over to my office and we'd go out for lunch and for dinner, and then I'd take her back over to Grace's, and then she'd go home. So, when or whatever happened, my office called, Ron's office called, and Susan said, there's a $90-some long distance charge to this phone number's big, so what's going on? They knew that I was seeing another woman.